Woo-hoo! Hey everybody, I'm your host Deborah. It is Friday, October the 9th, 2020. Um, it's a wonderful day. I am celebrating my birthday by coming to you on YouTube and talking with you. I am officially 62 years old today, and I have already made this entire video once, and I don't do any editing. All I usually do is just play back some of it just to make sure that the volume and everything is okay on it, and then I upload it onto YouTube. Well, I played it back and my mouth was moving, but there was no sound. And I was like, what is going on? This is not good. I have just spent 55 minutes of talking to my computer, thinking that I was talking to all of you all who have decided to stop by and visit with me. And unless you're lip readers, you didn't know what I was saying. Oh, God, joys of technology. Okay, I am no longer techie savvy. I can do some things. I used to be really great. I used to be computer technical support for Gateway Computers eons ago, and I could talk with you on your telephone and tell you how to take apart your computer. We could diagnose the problem. I could send you the new parts. I could walk you back through installing them, and your computer would work fine. Oh well. A lot has changed since then. I don't think Gateway computers even exist anymore, and yeah, remind me sometime to tell you about my experiences with one customer. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure which one, um, management was listening in onto my phone call, because they would do that from time to time with the tech support people for quality assurance purposes. And we'd get rated on the length of our call. They want you to be able to take care of a problem on a call within X amount of minutes or seconds, depending upon the company that you're working with. And unfortunately, in real life, things like that don't always happen that way. Actually, I'll tell you the story right now, just to give you a chuckle. I, you know, I, I'm a pretty easygoing person. Maybe not. But I had this really wonderful, sweet gentleman call in, and he had a Gateway computer. And his words were, I want y'all to come pick it up and take it away. And I thought, okay. I said, well, can you tell me what's wrong with your computer and we can fix it? He said, there's nothing wrong with it. It works fine. He said, I just bought another computer and my wife wants it gone. And I said, sir, this is Gateway Technical Support. And I said, I will help you fix your computer. I said, but we don't come and pick up your computer and take it away. I said, you've bought and paid for your computer. You own it. I said, what you want to do with it is fine. You can sell it. You can give it away. He says, no, I don't want to do either one of them. I just want you to come get it. And I said, well, I can't do that. So we proceeded to talk, and he said, it's not that I don't like the computer. It's just my wife doesn't want it sitting around here since I have a second one. And I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? I have to be nice to this man, and I don't want to be rude, but I really can't help him, because this is not a technical problem. This is a problem with his wife and him and the computers. So finally, after some discussion and me trying to convince him into just giving it away to somebody who needed a computer, none of my suggestions worked. So I said to him, I said, sir, do you happen to be a fisherman? He said, oh, yes, I do. I am. He says, I go out in my boat regularly and go fishing. I said, well, let me tell you what to do. I said, load that computer up in your boat and take it fishing with you. When you get to your desired location, I said, I would suggest that you tie a rope to the computer, throw it overboard, and use it as your anchor for your boat. And I said, thank you very much for calling Gateway Technical Support. My name is Deborah, and you have a nice day. Yes, corporate was listening to the conversation. Um, and my supervisor came over and informed me of it, and all I could do was laugh because, I wasn't rude to him. There was no way I could be rude to him, but I actually couldn't help him solve his problem because he didn't have a technical problem. His technical problem was with his wife. It wasn't with with the technology itself. So anyhow, that was my little funny ha-ha for for my services gateway technical support. And the gentleman, he was a sweetheart, and I don't know who he was. This has been probably 20 years ago. So I don't even know if he's still around, but if he is and he happens to see this video, hi sweetie, I was the one that told you to use it for an anchor on your boat, and I didn't know what else to say. I was drawing blanks, and that's the best I could do. So anyhow, on to Yarn, Needles, and Life. As I said, I am Deborah, your host. What you see is what you get here. I don't have show notes. I don't make any notes of what I'm going to talk about. What I have talked about in the past or currently now or in the future, I wing it. I don't have any fancy lighting setups. I don't have any fancy room. I am in my bedroom, sitting on my bed. If I showed you a view of this room, it's a nightmare because I live amongst my yarn and my knitting and my crocheting. What can I say? It is what it is. In my fantasy world, I have this cute little cottage that I live in that has an extra room in it that is set up just for my yarn and knitting and crocheting, and I have a TV in there, and I have a computer in there, and I can watch videos and podcasts and listen to audiobooks while I knit and crochet, and while I have a friend over who also likes to knit and crochet, or several friends over who like to knit and crochet, and we can all sit around and knit and bitch and carry on and laugh and just be happy. And I have walls and walls of yarn and bookcase shelves going from floor to ceiling, and they're all, all in delicious, beautiful, eye-catching colors. And, they're acrylic, they're cotton, they're alpaca, they're merino, they're silk, they're linen, you name it. They're all the wonderful, delicious fibers and colors that we yarnivores can just enjoy getting our hands on. And while I'm thinking of yarnivores, I know he doesn't know me and he doesn't know my channel, but I do watch him. Hi, Fiber Spider, because I think yarnivore is one of your words that you use, and I think it's awesome. Another video that I watch is Ross with Smells Like Yarn. I watch also Cinnamon with Cinnamon Stitches. And I watch Leslie over in the UK with Not Quite Enough Yarn. And I also watch Kay and her husband. Oh, I forgot his name. I'm horrible with names, y'all. I really am. I'm good with numbers, but I really suck with names, and that is not a good thing. But Kay Jones and her husband, and What's on Your Needle, the Bakery Bears. And I really, really enjoyed their videos because her and him both knit, and they're husband and wives. In case you don't know the Bakery Bears, Kay Jones she designs patterns, and she has her patterns for sale on Ravelry, and she does absolutely beautiful work. And her husband does absolutely beautiful work as well. And they live over in the UK, and he is fabulous about taking you for what I will call jaunts across the countryside in the neck of the woods that they live in across the pond from America. And I really do enjoy his adventures. And Kay goes with him a lot of times, and they're really great. I do very much enjoy the Bakery Bears. They have a podcast, they have a radio program, they have Patreon section. They also have a bakery section as well as their yarn part and their knitting part. So It's really nice. They do a very, very nice, very professional job. They have gone all out in their podcast, and my hat goes off to them. So, anyhow, to all of y'all, hello, happy October, and happy October to those of you who have decided to join me in this video of much to do about a lot about nothing but yarn. And on that note, I'm going to show you some of the things that I have been doing. I think in my last video, said that I've gotten involved in some crocheting, and I've been doing mosaic crochet, and it's very addictive. Um, yeah, I've really thrown myself into it. And this is a bag that I have recently made. It is, the pattern design is by another designer, but the bag itself is my own creation. So, there's not per se a pattern out there for the bag itself. It is knit in the oval, or crocheted in the oval. I crocheted bag handles for it. I am not going to use pleather because I have developed a problem with allergies to latex and pleather. If it's not real leather, I break out, and all I have to do is carry a pocketbook by the straps on my arms, and in just minutes I'm broke out in a rash with whelps, and I'm miserable. So I am going to line it with this fabric, and it will have a zipper in the top of the lining, and I am probably going to put a button, which I also bought, on the outside of the bag with just a little crocheted cord to hook around it, just as a visual thing. It won't really need it to close the bag because the bag will have the zipper in it, but it's just going to be basically a architectural visual design feature in it. So anyhow, and this fabric is thick, so it will give it some stability. I also bought some plastic webbing to go in the bottom that they use with latch hooks that I'm going to cut to fit to put in the bottom of the bag to give it some more stability in the bottom, and it'll also hold up just fine whenever it's tossed in the wash machine and washed. So that is my one part project, and I really need to get it finished so I can use the bag because I just absolutely love it. And it's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my mother to do the lining for the bag because my mother is a really good seamstress, way, way, way above my pay grade. I can do it, but it's her sewing machine, and it's one that has all the bells and whistles, and I'm not familiar with it, and I'm going to try to convince her into doing the liner for my bag. So, that being set aside, my other thing is I joined a crochet along. First time. I've never done a cowl or a crochet along or a knit along. This is something that's totally out of my element. And it is with Tina. And this is just a few rows. This is like 29 rows of the beginning of the entire pattern, and it's got numerous graphs to go with it, but it's a mosaic crochet along. It started September the 19th, and today I just got pattern, I think it was number 5 update. The pattern right now I believe is $5. It's $10 after a certain point in time of the crochet along. Whether you pay $5 or whether you pay $10, it is a heck of a bargain because the graphs are incredible. The amount of work that she's put into them and the details of the instructions is just phenomenal. You know, she's not charging enough for her time. You know, the only way that she's getting something out of it in return for her time is for all the people that have joined it and have bought the patterns, because God only knows how many hours and weeks and months she has into designing these graphs and putting these patterns together. Very, very good. And it's available on Ravelry. Her name is Tina, Tinna. I am going to try to link her beginner's video to the description in this video. I've never done it before. I'm not sure if I can do it, but if I can, I will, because for those of you who are interested in mosaic crochet, I highly suggest Tina's beginner's video with mosaic. Another one is Fiber Spider, Fiber Fox Studios on YouTube. She also has some beginner's mosaic crochets, very, very good at instructions and showing you how to do it. Either lady, Tina and Fiber Fox Studios, both excellent, and I can't recommend them enough. They do overlay mosaic. There are two types of mosaic. One is a 2-row with chains mosaic. The other one is an overlay mosaic. Overlay mosaic is worked in single rows, one color per row, always working from the right to the left. You start a color at the right, work to the left, end your color, bind off, cut your yarn, go back and start your new color of yarn, your second row, right to left, and you continue like that all the way through. Overlay, you do not, the chain one, you do not do that way. Marley Bird and Mikey from the Crochet Crowd do the mosaic that has the 2 rows with the chains. Excuse me. If you're interested in taking a look at them, for whatever reason, I have just not been able to grasp the concept and wrap my head around the chain one. Every time I think that I've got it and I try to do it, it just goes to mush in my head. So far the overlay has been the one that I have been sticking with, and I'm happy with it. It's easy for me to do. The learning curve on it was very brief, and I was off and running. So for those of you who would like to try it, I highly suggest it. It's great, and it gives you a reason to buy all those bright, vibrant colors of yarn. And let me tell you something that I've discovered with the yarn is, if you happen to like variegated yarn and the ones that have the nice longer color changes in it, oh my God, mosaic is wonderful to use with variegated and long color changes, short or long color changes of yarn. Wonderful. You get the one background color, a black or whatever, to have as your main background color, and then the variegated. Oh, it is so pretty. My project that I just finished, I actually have been working for about 6 or 7 weeks on a blanket. I have a grandson that just turned 21, and he is a real sweetheart. The kid is just absolutely a great kid. And I have a bunch of grandkids, and I even have great-grandchildren, but this one, he's just different. He's just natured differently from all the rest of them. Very, very stable and anchored, and which is unusual for a 21-year-old these days. So it was like, yeah, he's the one who seems to have the most stability in his life right now, and he's crochet worthy, and he hasn't seen this yet. All he knows is that Granny was making something for him. So I finished it up last night. I threw it in the washer and the dryer. I did it with Red Heart Super Saver yarn, and I wished I'd had something softer, but at the time, with the yarn shortage through COVID-19, it was the only one that I could actually get my hands on relatively easily in the little town that I live in, because all I have is a Walmart to buy yarn at. And so yeah, I ended up with Red Heart Super Saver yarn, but he's a Gator fan. Go Gators, yay. Orange and blue. So, yeah, I did him a blanket up in orange and blue, and I'm going to only show you sections of it. I'm 5'6", and this blanket goes from my toes to the under my nose, and it will hang over the edges of a twin size bed. So it's a pretty good size, but I can't show it all to you here, so I'm going to have to show it to you in sections. This is the bottom section, okay, and then here's another section of it. And then the next section. This is wider than the other ones. And then this sections. And my last and final part is this one. And this is for any who knows the TARDIS phone booth from Doctor Who, science fiction movies. And I wanted to put something in it that would relate to the time frame in which he grew up in. And he's a gamer, so I have no idea what gamers are into these days, but I thought, well, you know, the Doctor Who phone booth would be perfect. So it's been around during the course of his lifetime, so I did this, and I'm really proud of it. And I did the double border, orange on the front side, blue on the back side. That was a chore in and of itself, but I'm really proud of this, and I think he's going to be really happy with it. It's going to be very warm, and he'll never need a weighted blanket because this is heavy. It did wash up nicely, very nicely, and even though Red Heart Super Saver is not my first choice of yarn, I do know that it lasts a lifetime, and this is something that he will, you know, unless he just gives it away or just throws it away, it will last his entire lifetime and probably into his children's and grandchildren's lifetimes. So, anyhow, that is that. What have I been doing? I've been buying yarn. See, mosaic crochet, even like with knitting, well, crochet gives you a reason to buy yarn and buy pretty colors of yarn. You know, pastels and bright, pretty, vibrant colors, all that good stuff. And, you know, just when I say I'm going on a yarn diet and thought I was going to start using up my stash, yeah, right, that didn't happen. It's a nice thought. And people wonder how you end up with a stash. This is how you end up with a stash. I'm not going to buy any yarn this year. Instead, I'm going to use what I have already in my stash. And then you find this pattern and you think, oh, I've got that in my stash. And then you look in your stash and you're like missing one color. So you have to go out and you have to buy that one color that you're missing. And then you get in the store and you go, oh my God, that color is so pretty. And then you see another color and you go, oh, it's so pretty. And next thing you know, you have a buggy full of yarn. And you come home and you're like, okay, where do I put this? I mean, it's getting to the point now that I'm going to be sleeping with my yarn if something doesn't give. And, you know, I'm single, I'm divorced, I've been single for 16 years, I have no boyfriend, no man in my life, no hubby, none of that. So I have a queen size bed and I sleep with my knitting and my crocheting. What can I say? You know, at least I'm, you know, faithful to them. And they don't give me any back talk. So, and I don't have to cook for them, and I don't have to do any laundry for them, and I just kind of arrange them however I want them, and it's all good. And my cat looks at me, Miss Chloe looks at me, and she'll, with this look on her face, her kitty face, like, are you still knitting and crocheting? And really, I would like some loving. Would you please leave the yarn alone? She really does give me that look. I promise you she does. And sometimes it's really a look of pure disgust, like, really, haven't you done this enough? 8 hours a day, isn't that enough? Can you please just quit? But anyhow, yeah, so it's been yarn buying, and Walmart has got their mainstay yarn back in our local store. I don't know about the other stores. They're bringing out some new colors, which is nice. Some of them are variegated colors. They aren't to my cup of tea yet, the ones that I've seen, but everybody's different. So, somebody out there is going to love them. And the prices are right. My goodness, you get 397 yards of solid color yarn for $2.40 cents. So you can't beat that with a stick. And it's decent yarn, and if you're on a budget, it's truly a great buy. And if you do a lot of crocheting or knitting for donations to give away, it's fabulous to make blankets for the homeless, or items for the nursing homes, or little hats for the babies in the NICU units, or baby blankets, just any of that thing. Hats for kids, at the schools. My goodness, you could make, oh lordy, you could probably make at least 4 hats out of a skein of mainstay basic yarn. They're acrylic that's got 397 yards in it. It's number 4 weight yarn. I would think you could easily get 4 kids' hats out of it. If not 3, that's a heck of a buy. And then Mainstay at Walmart also has their cotton yarns. This is blowing it out. This is 180 yards of 100% cotton. Very soft. I really like it. It's Walmart Mainstay. And it's $2.98. It's number 4 weight, 180 yards, 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 165 millimeters. Anyhow. They call it opal green. I call it seafoam green. Is what I call it. Like I said, it's blown out on the screen. Definitely nothing like what it looks like. I'm sorry about that, folks. But I'm no professional here. That's just me. My headset, my earphones, because I discovered that you couldn't hear me when I was talking in my other video. So I don't know what's going on. This is a new laptop. I don't know what's going on. I barely know how to use the darn thing. I haven't had a laptop computer in, I don't know, 10 years. I've been using my cell phone. And now I have a new cell phone that I don't know how to operate all the stuff on it either. So I am a technology nightmare. Okay? I can show you how to operate crochet hooks and knitting needles. But when it comes to technology, questionable. Okay, very questionable. Now, I saw the other day that Dollar Tree is carrying yarn. Yeehaw! Yippee-ki-yay! My Dollar Tree here in Palatka, Florida, for the most part, sucks. But, it's better than not having it, okay? I wish it was better than what it is, but it could be worse. And they have just yarn from Premier. It's Aran weight. So they say it's a number 4 weight. I didn't realize Aran was considered number 4 weight. 112 yards. $1. $1. They had pastel colors. They have a pretty bright pastel blue. This what I call peachy orange. A yellow. They had a white. They had a pink. They had a dark blue and a dark green. Both were ugly in my opinion, but that was just my opinion. Somebody else probably absolutely loved them, but I didn't, so I left the blue and the green at the store, and I picked up 10 of these little jewels, I think 2 of each color. That's how you end up with a stash. Another way you end up with a stash is somebody wanted to know, and I've seen this in a lot of Facebook knitting or crochet groups. people, particularly newbies, will say, well, you know, how much yarn do you buy? How much yarn do you buy? Well, when I go into a store to buy yarn, and this has always been the rule of thumb, I am a larger woman, okay? I wear a 1X and a 2X, depending upon how it's made. And when I make a scarf, when I knit a scarf, I don't want a little scarf. I want a scarf that's going to cover me up. I want to be able to wrap up in that sucker and snuggle in it. I want it to cover down my back and a little bit over my backside, my behind, because my butt gets cold. I don't know about you, but my butt tends to get cold even though I have pants on. I wear slacks most of the time. So I knit things on and crochet things on the larger size. So usually when I buy yarn, with the exception of this and the cotton, I typically will buy 3 skeins of yarn, and the skeins that I buy typically have 300 to 400 yards of yarn in them. So I typically buy anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 yards of yarn at a time in the color that I like. Because I know that whatever I knit, I'm going to need at least that much to make something for myself or crochet something for myself. And if I end up making a baby blanket, I need at least that much yardage to make a really nice sized baby blanket. I don't want a little rinky-dink baby blanket. I want a baby blanket that a baby can use from infant into toddler and maybe drag around even some after they're a toddler, okay? This is, I don't want to just use me for a month and then I've outgrown it and I can't use it anymore, okay? I've spent time on making that because you're worth it to me, so I want you to be able to get as much enjoyment out of it for as long amount of time as possible. So I buy yardage. I don't buy in grams. I don't buy in ounces. I buy in yards. For those who don't live in the United States, you use kilograms, and the metric system here in the States we use, you know, weights, pounds, ounces, and yards. And I buy by the yards, and I know that I'm going to buy a minimum of 1,000 yards of a color, if it's a color that I'm wanting to make something out of just one color. So that's how I figure my yarn. I also break down my yarn cost by price per yard. How much does that yarn cost me? That yarn cost me per yard. And if it's 397 yards and it's $2.47 for 397 yards, I just do the math and I see how much it costs me, how many pennies per yard it costs. I do that with all my yarn, whether it's cotton yarn, whether it's merino wool, whether it's silk, whether it's linen, cashmere, alpaca. You know, you can find your price per yard, and sometimes you find things are very, very reasonable price per yard, and other times you say, oh, I can't afford to buy that. But when you look at it as price per yard, acrylic versus alpaca, you may find that alpaca that's on sale is actually a really good price. And when it comes to your natural fibers such as cotton, alpaca, merino wool, and the such, you know, I never realized how much time is involved for those who raise their own fiber, like sheep and alpaca and llamas. My goodness gracious, I have actually watched some videos on, you know, they only shear sheep once a year, so you're only getting them sheared once a year, so you've got a whole year feeding them and taking care of them and the vet bills and all that stuff. And then, you know, you have the cost of having them sheared if you don't do it yourself, and even if you do, you've got the cost of the shearing equipment. Plus the other thing is sheep, like horses, they have to have their little hooves cut. They have to have somebody come out and take care of their feet. Their nails need to be clipped, just like our nails need to be clipped, and puppies' nails need to be clipped. So there's a whole lot that goes into it. Then you have the shearing of the sheep. Then you have this big old huge fleece that has to be picked through because it has all the debris that they've picked up through the year that they've been growing out their wool. And there's leaves and there's twigs and there's sheep poo and there's, briars and this, that, and the other in it. And you debris it and you have to wash it and you have to dry it and probably wash it again, and then you have to card it. And the process is unbelievable, people. The amount of labor that goes into just preparing a fleece to get it ready to be able to spin it is exorbitant. It's very labor intensive, and I'm sure the same thing is the same way with alpaca. And spinning is a whole new thing all of its own. Spin wheels aren't cheap, and it takes a lot of spinning to get a hank of yarn. And then once you get it spun out, you have to wash it, and then you have to beat it to get the fibers to kind of all mesh together like they're supposed to make them really sturdy. And it is labor intense. And when you see the intensity of everything that it requires to do natural fiber, it's a wonder it's not $100 a yard, okay? There isn't enough money out there to get me to to sell that stuff after I went through all that to get it ready and spin it on my own. Oh my goodness. My hat goes off to those who do it. It is a real talent, and it is a real love of fiber for those who actually do it from the beginning to the end. Y'all are incredibly talented people, and I'm so thankful that y'all are around, because if it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't have some of the yarns that we do have. So thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has been fun talking with you. I hope everyone is doing well. I have just about been ready to pull my hair out. See, this is October. COVID-19 happened. It happened at the very beginning of the year. Actually, I think it happened around Christmas, and then the lockdown came around, and I've just about gone bat crazy. I told people on my Facebook page the other day I was on a rant. I'm like, done. I'm over it. I'm done with it. I don't go out a whole lot. Anyhow, I never have. I've never been one to run the roads, even when I had the opportunity to. So I typically only go out when I need to go out and buy my medicine. And when I go out to buy my medicine, I pick up my groceries at the same time. I get it all done at once. And I maybe go out 3 times a month. A little bit more if I've got medical appointments. But I'm not out and about for the most part. I'm in my home, or I'm in my mother's home. So, I have enough health issues that breathing can be very difficult for me. And since I live in the South, it's very humid here, and when the humidity is high, the higher the humidity, the more difficult it is for me to breathe. And sometimes just to get my bags from my car into the kitchen is just about more than what I can do. And it's not pleasant because I'm so short of breath. And it's nothing that can be fixed. And if I wore oxygen, it wouldn't make any difference. But putting a mask over my face just makes it exceedingly harder than what it already is, and it's terribly hard to begin with. So I'm like over the mask. I used to work in the hospital. I know that when I wore a mask, it was when I went in a patient's room when that patient was contagious. And when I went into a patient's room to draw their blood and they were contagious, I had to don all the PPE equipment, is what they call it, and it's personal protection equipment. The, not just the mask, but you don the gloves, and you don the gown and the covers of the shoes and all that stuff. There was a whole process. And I also know from working in the medical field that if you're contagious, such as you have tuberculosis, the first thing that your doctor does is they tell you you have to wear a mask when you are around other people, because TB is highly, highly contagious. TB is nasty, people. You just have no idea how nasty TB is and how contagious it is. It is a ugly, ugly, ugly bug that nobody wants to get. However, healthy people don't wear masks. Healthy people who are sick, wear a mask to keep from infecting others, is generally the way it is. So, if I'm sick, and I did catch a cold this summer, and I had that cold for a couple weeks, and I didn't go out. I went out once to pick up some medicine and some food, and I made sure that I wore a mask, not to protect myself, but to protect others from whatever I may have had if I was contagious. And that's the way I look at it. If I'm contagious, I'm going to adjust my actions accordingly. Not only do I take extra measures in sanitizing, I actually have a spray bottle that I keep with me that's filled with alcohol. And I spray my hands, and I spray things that I touch with that alcohol to help sanitize them. And I have sanitizing hand wipes that I carry with me in my car that I use. I don't wear rubber gloves or latex gloves because I have latex allergies. But, and that latex allergy I happened to get it from working in the medical field, to where I was required to wear latex gloves because I was a phlebotomist and I drew people's labs, and I developed a latex allergy because of it, which is not uncommon to happen. However, I get some looks sometimes from people, but the wearing of a mask, I'm going to end up on the floor. I'm going to end up in an ambulance. If I have to wear a mask, I just can't do it. It's more than what I can handle. And I do my best to practice good hand hygiene, hand washing, and covering my mouth when I cough or sneeze. And I don't sneeze or cough into the crease of my arm, because you know what? How often do you wash this? You don't, until you take a bath at nighttime. And if you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, now these are my thoughts, and you may not agree, and that's fine. If you don't agree, that's perfectly fine. Don't need to put anything in the comments, because it's not open for debate. These are just my personal thoughts. If you have a long sleeve shirt on and you do that, those germs that you've just sneezed and coughed onto that shirt, the arm of that shirt, they're crawling around on that material of your shirt. That's what germs do. Germs move, people. If you don't believe it, look at them underneath a microscope. Go to a lab. Somebody that works in a lab, ask them. Germs, they move. They move around. And so doing these elbow bumps, all you're doing is spreading that germ. You're just sharing it with somebody else. No, don't do elbow bumps. Wash your hands. Wash them good. Anything that you are more susceptible to getting sick from something that you've touched than anything else, because germs are everywhere. They're just a part of life. We can't eradicate them. And the one way to protect yourself is to wash your hands with soap and water. And it doesn't need to be an antiseptic soap. The more antibiotics that you take, and the more disinfectants that you use the more resistant germs become to those products. Okay, it's well known. The reason why doctors aren't so big on prescribing a lot of antibiotics is because the more antibiotics you take, the more resistant your body is to those antibiotics, and germs build up a resistance to them, and those antibiotics become ineffective to the germs and whatever it is that's making you sick. So that is fact. That is medical fact. It can be Googled. You can look it up. It's there. It's real. So just using soap, just soap. You can use Ivory soap. You can use any soap. Just using soap and water and washing your hands well, and washing up underneath your fingernails and rinsing your hands good. Wash the germs down the drain. That's how you kill germs. You wash them away. You don't need to have antibacterial soap. You don't have to have all this sanitizing stuff in order to be safe. Just use good hand washing techniques. Wash your clothes. Don't wear your mask over and over again. What you breathe in is oxygen. What you breathe out is carbon dioxide, and it has got crud in it, people. We exhale crud. That's why we don't go around breathing in each other's faces, because, if it's crud, and those masks catch is all that crud that we exhale, and when we keep that mask on, we're breathing back in that crud that our body has just gotten rid of, and it's not good for us. So please, just be safe. Just use common sense. Just be mindful. And your health is important. Everybody's health is important. We all want to stay safe. So if you're sick, stay home as much as possible. We don't want to share our colds with one another or anything else. So, and there's allergy season too. And now it seems like with COVID, gosh, if somebody sneezes or somebody coughs, we think, oh God, have they got COVID? The media has talked about it so much that they have just scared us to death. And let me tell you, just because you get COVID does not mean you're going to die. COVID is a part of the flu family. It will never go away. It is here just like the flu is here. We've never eradicated the flu. We're never going to eradicate COVID-19. It is here. It's part of life, people. We're going to have to learn to live with it in the best possible way we can, and we can't go around living in fear of COVID-19. We have got to get out and live. We have got to be able to smile at one another. We have to be able to socialize with one another. We need normalcy, as much normalcy in our life as possible, and humans thrive on interaction with each other. We thrive when somebody smiles at you. It doesn't matter how crappy your day has been up until that moment, but when you meet that stranger walking into the store and they give you that great big smile on their face, you can't help but just feel better. It just makes you feel better, and you can't deny it. It's hard to not smile back when somebody smiles at you. It's just hard, and we are social creatures just like our pets are, just like cats and dogs like to be around people and other cats and dogs. Well, people are the same way. So, and our children need to see a smile. We need to see each other's faces. It's funny, up until this year, if you walked in a store with a mask on your face, they assumed you were fixing to rob the place. Now they don't want to let you in the door unless you got one on. Weird, huh? The world's turned upside down and gone crazy. We've all lost our minds. Oh well, what can I say? Anyhow, I'm 49 minutes into this yak, 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 yak. And I'm sure y'all have had enough of me by now. And thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. And I hope somewhere along the line I made you laugh. And I hope that I shared something that might have been informative to you. If you look back at some of my other videos, I never do videos back to back. I don't do them on a regular basis. I'm a hit or miss thing. I don't edit. I don't, like I said in the beginning, what you see is what you get. But in some of my very first videos that I ever did, I did some book reviews and I did some videos on knitting socks. And I knit predominantly. I'm a knitter, but I really like knitting socks, and I do several videos on sock knitting. And for those of you who want to dive into the world of sock knitting, I suggest that you go on Pinterest or just Google anatomy of the sock and just learn the terminology of the sock, because there's the toe, there's the heel, there's the gusset, there's a heel turn, there's a leg, there's a cuff, and there's the foot. And knowing the terminology, the anatomy of the sock, of the different areas of the sock, really helps when you go to knit one, because then you know what part of the sock they're actually talking about. It was like when I could knit the cuff and I could knit the leg, and I was able to knit the heel and even do the heel turn. But when they said, now pick up stitches for the gusset, I was like, what the hell is a gusset? I don't have a clue what a gusset is. And I could always get to that point, and then I'd end up frogging the whole thing out because it just didn't connect. And I went through this for 6 months. And finally I said, you know what? Instead of knitting a grown-up sock, I'm going to do a little baby sock, because little baby socks are little bitty feet, and then I'm not knitting so much, and then I'm not ripping so much out. And I knit a little baby sock that was basically a little socky booty. But anyhow, it all clicked with that little baby sock. After 6 months of trying, it clicked with the baby sock, and I had my aha moment. And from there on out, I was good to go. And I've knitted 30 or 40 pairs of socks, and most of my socks are vanillas. And I used to knit from the cuff down. Now I knit from the toe up to the cuff, and I do magic loop. I do a toe up. I do Jenny's stretchy bind off on my cuff, and I do the Fleegle, Fleegle heel, and yeah, I can do them in my sleep now. Actually, I can. I've actually dreamed about knitting socks while I'm sleeping, right? So I've knit a lot of socks, but they're usually my go-to mindless knitting. I can knit them a basic sock from toe up with the Fleegle heel without any pattern. I have it down in my head, and once I got all my measurements right for me, for my foot, it's just been easy to do. I can throw a sock in a bag with my knitting needles and throw it in my pocketbook, and I've got knitting on the go, and I can throw it down for a month and pick it back up later and finish it, and I don't need a pattern. So it's really great knitting to have on the go. And I try to always take something with me whenever I go out, just in case I get delayed. One time that I didn't do it, I ended up coming out of the store and having a flat tire on my car, and I didn't have a spare, and I had to wait on a tow truck to come and get me, and I had to wait for over an hour, and I had to sit there in my car in the rain with no knitting, no crocheting, and waiting on a tow truck with a cell phone that had basically a dead battery. So yeah, I take my yarn with me from now on. And it's great. I always have it with me when I go to the doctor's office. It just, it just makes waiting easier if you have to wait, because I feel like if I have to sit and wait, I can at least be productive. And if I'm knitting or crocheting, I am being productive instead of just sitting there and wasting my time playing video games or browsing on the internet. I'm doing something that's productive and constructive in a good way. So yeah, I take my yarn with me, and I always end up meeting somebody who's just fascinated with what I'm doing, and I get to share a little bit of the craft with them. So that's also nice too. So anyhow, you all have a wonderful day. I hope this video turns out okay. I'm going to listen to a few things. I'm going to really try to attach a couple links for the mosaic crochet videos, beginners from Tina and from um, Fiberfox Studios in the description box below, um, so that you can find them easy if you're interested in the mosaic crochet. Okay, and thank you everybody for spending a little while with me on my 62nd birthday, and you all have a great and wonderful weekend. Please be kind to one another, share a smile, and I'll see you next time again on the flip side. Bye.